you. The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. It's just generally a pleasure. I'm in a good mood. Life is good. Let's bring out our co-host, producer, Lauren. How are you?
Hey, Ryan. How you doing?
I'm doing great. As aforementioned, I'm in a very, very good mood, and I want to run through the reasons, okay?
I was going to say, do tell. Why?
All right. So first off, right off the bat, really excited for our guest. One of my favorite people in the entertainment business. They go way back. They are awesome. Bill, Downupright, Boulden, joining us. Bill's been a loyalist of the Break the Business program for a long time. One of the very first guests we've had. I am such a fan of all of Bill's music projects. Bill does these really cool, ambitious projects, really groundbreaking stuff. Also an amazing DJ producer, great entrepreneur. So many things to like about Bill, and I know he's going to have a lot of great insight to share with the viewers and listeners. So excited for that. So right off the bat, Bill is great, excited for that. So right there, already a good start. Second of all, because we're not done yet, I'm generally excited, and I don't know if it's sort of showing, but it is Star Trek season for me.
Ooh.
Tomorrow, as we record this episode, season 2 of Star Trek Picard premieres on Paramount Plus.
Now, I heard from one of your students that you did like a Star Trek day. Has that happened yet?
Yes.
Okay.
I thank you very much for bringing this up. Yes. So I teach an ethics class at Doral College, and for the last 10 years that I've been teaching this class at the college, I have what is called Star Trek Day, where I dedicate a whole day to teaching ethics using Star Trek, because I think Star Trek is the best ethics teacher. I am still trying to convince the dean of my college to let me teach a whole ethics class using nothing but Star Trek episodes. But so far, I got them to agree to let me do it for one day. And I go all out for Star Trek Day. Like, I wear a Star Trek uniform. I have a Star Trek background. It's got like a whole production behind it.
How did I not know you have a Star Trek uniform?
I do indeed.
Is it like the red one?
It is. It's the red Star Trek captain's uniform.
Nice.
And so so I was excited to bust it out because it was Star Trek Day, my ethics class. And I'm excited about Star Trek for tomorrow because Star Trek Picard premieres. And so I'm in a really, really good mood. And I know what people are thinking, right? Like, oh God, is Ryan going to do something really stupid, like bust out a Star Trek uniform and play some Star Trek music when he's supposed to be hosting his podcast and just turn this whole thing to a Star Trek mess instead of staying on topic? And I'm here to, let it be clear. I'm a professional, all right? Slam Radio and the podcast platforms and everything else, they don't have me on to talk Star Trek. They want to hear about entertainment business and empowering indie creators. So I'm not going to let my love for Star Trek just bleed into this program and annoy everybody, okay?
I don't know about anybody else, but I think the viewers would like to see you all dolled up. That might be fun. At least for me,
you think they'd want to? You really think, Lauren? You really think that they're going to want to see me in some stupid Star Trek uniform with the background and the music playing?
I'm saying I would. I don't actually know what any of them want, but if I had that option, yes, I vote always for costumes.
All
Why
right.
not?
Well, you know what? Then I think that's what we're gonna do.
Is that an option?
No!
Yes.
Oh, we're
my God,
doing
I'm
it.
so excited.
It's happening.
How are you going to change the costume?
What happened to my background? Oh!
How did
He's
I
got
not
the uniform on.
No! Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
Oh! Okay! Star Trek Picard Season 2
Oh my gosh! Okay.
premieres tomorrow as I record this.
Okay, no joke. I did not see that coming, and that was amazing.
Yes. Oh God, I so thought for sure you were gonna know what I was up to because like the red trim of my Star Trek outfit was like peeking through the jacket.
Oh
And
man.
I thought maybe you were wondering like, why is Ryan wearing a jacket? He's indoors recording a podcast.
I feel like I should have gotten fair notice because I would love to wear a costume if I had said option. I didn't even bother with a background today.
This could have been a
man.
team. This could have been a tandem costume. Like you could have had your Star Trek uniform too to celebrate Star Trek Picard coming out.
Now I need to get one, but yes.
Yes. This thing is, by the way, like, I'm a grown man, all right? I am a grown man with a mortgage. I pay taxes, and I really love dressing up like a Star Trek person. I'm so giddy.
Okay, so I have to get a costume based on the new show. So I'll have to tune in tomorrow just so that I can see what they're wearing so that I can get a new costume.
Yeah. All right, well, I think you should. I think if we're going to celebrate Star Trek, we should do it right. Now, let me ask you this, okay?
Okay.
Do I keep the Star Trek motif for the rest of the show? Do we keep the Starship Enterprise background behind me? Do I change out of this uniform? Because here's what I'm afraid of, all right? The fear I have, like I love wearing this uniform. I would like wear this as like pajamas if I could. My fear is that this is going to be the week where one of us says something like really super important and poignant that will then get blasted all over social media. I'm going to make this grand statement about the entertainment industry that's going to be all over Twitter. I'm going to be dressed like Jean-Luc Picard. That is my fear.
And why is that a fear? You know, because I feel like a lot of poignant things were said on the show, so it would fit like right in, you know. It's not like you're in a clown costume or something. Like
That's a
rainbow
Federation
hair.
officer.
Yeah,
All right,
I mean,
you know what?
we could make a middle ground. Like we'll go back to a neutral background, but I don't think you should lose the uniform just because, you know, it's like a giant pajama that you're wearing to invite us all into your world.
I think it's funnier if I have the neutral background because then it makes less sense why I'm wearing this uniform. So
And then people who tune in later have to figure it out. They're like, wait, is that a Star Trek uniform? Because your microphone like blocks your little beep 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 thing.
That's true. It's like, you know, a Starfleet badge is kind of okay. Anyway,
Sorry.
so yeah, I'm happy about Bill showing up because I love Bill, and I'm happy that Star Trek Picard's coming back because I love Patrick Stewart. Here's the one thing the only thing that's making me sad this week, Lauren.
Is Patrick Stewart in it? I'm sorry, I missed that piece.
It's called Star Trek Picard, Lauren.
I know, but they could have let somebody else play it. They do that. Like there was a new Spock. I mean, why not?
No, this is Jean-Luc Picard
Sir
playing
Patrick Stewart.
Sir Patrick Stewart.
I'm sorry,
yes.
he earned
But he's
that.
he's an old man now on this show. Like he's not in command of the Enterprise anymore. An old man tending to his grapes in his vineyard.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's wonderful. And we all need to appreciate just how great it is to have him back, you know, one more time playing this role. Because I mean, he's such a treasure to me. Like I mean, he's my favorite actor just from what he does in this role. And I get like my heart stops anytime he's trending on Twitter. Like when I see the trending list and I see Patrick Stewart, I'm like, oh God, no, I assume the worst. And I get so sad. Yeah. And then it's always just like, oh no, look at this cute picture of Patrick Stewart like smelling a flower or something.
Well,
Anyway,
and he's like a legit like Shakespearean actor, like stage actor. Like he's got a strong theatrical history that's not just like I played something on Star Trek.
I had the pleasure of seeing him on Broadway opposite Ian McKellen in Waiting for Godot.
Nice.
That was fun. And the play was weird and it didn't make any sense, but I was really happy to see the two of them together. I was like, I'll watch you guys do anything, even this play that I don't understand.
I met him in New York after one of his Broadway shows, and he is just the nicest guy.
I'm sure. And that makes me happy to know, because if he was like a jerk secretly, that would break my heart. But no, I've heard he's like a wonderful human
Super
being.
nice, yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
I should mention there's only one piece of sad podcast news that I have to share. So good news, Bill Boulden is joining us. Good news, Star Trek Picard season 2 premieres tomorrow. And so I'm wearing my Star Trek uniform. Only piece of bad news related to this podcast. Ted Deutsch, our favorite congressman, right? Just number one Congressman Hall of Fame. We all agreed that we loved him because he supports indie artists and puppies. Is retiring. He will not be seeking re-election this year.
He wasn't even that old. Like he was super young.
He's
Did he
probably
just quit on us? He was like, meh.
he is going to become the head of the American Jewish Committee, which sounds pretty important.
Yeah.
But it breaks my heart because, like, I mean, we did a whole like 10 minutes on like, oh my God, we have an indie artist advocate in Congress.
Who's
He's
gonna advocate
sponsoring all
for us?
this, he sponsors all this great legislation and everything. And now, and now we're going to lose him. Breaks my heart. I wish him well, but yeah, we lost our friend in Congress.
I feel like he needs to train his person who comes after him. What are those people called?
Successor.
There we go. He he needs to train them. Like anybody who leaves their position who believes in what they do, make sure that somebody else is carrying on that legacy. Like he is supporting indie artists and musicians and all of these kinds of things that we absolutely love. I am making a campaign to him that if you're going to step down, let's make sure that your campaign leaves somebody who still cares, because there aren't many.
I'm reading between the lines of what you're saying here. And what I'm hearing and is if Congressman Deutsch wants to tap me to be his successor in the Florida 22nd, obviously I'll have to talk it over with the family, everything. I may have some demands about the size of my office and everything, but I'm willing to step up for the good of my country. That's what I'm hearing.
Somebody
Everybody wants me to replace Ted. I actually got the meanest email because somebody, one of the listeners sent me the article where he was retiring and said something along the lines of, your show is cursed. You're the reason why he's gone. And I was like, that's so mean. I wrote this person back. I was like, no. Like, we're not cursed. Like, once he got on, it's just the opposite. Once he got on Break the Business, he was like, and Alexander wept, for there are no worlds left to conquer. I've made it to Break the Business. There's nothing else I can accomplish in my life. And so he figured he'd leave Congress. That's what I think happened.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad. Okay,
Yeah.
so now he talked to us about how much we should be campaigning for ourselves and reaching out to our representatives and telling them what we want to see. So now what I'm hearing is we need all of our audience to write to them and say, we need you in one of these positions, because I would never want to be in one of those positions, but I'd be thrilled to have you representing them. I mean, I guess in a lot of ways you already are. But yeah, we should definitely all step up in his memory.
That's
Not
right.
that he's gone.
Memory, geez.
Hey, he will no longer be our representative, so we're going to have
Yeah.
to remember those days.
Well, I would say this, that the job is open for like official congressmen or congresswoman, of this case may be, of Break the Business. All right. I'm telling the other 434 members of the U.S. House out there, anybody else who wants to become our favorite member of Congress, like, reach out, show us like what great piece of legislation you are sponsoring to champion the cause of indie creators. Because, our buddy Deutsch left us. My heart's broken.
And there's a huge number of your constituents who are either indie creators themselves or fans of indie creators. And so if you, any of you congressmen out there, or women, you can step up and represent a huge amount of people who care about what they do because they're passionate about it, and their passion will bleed over into your career. So, support us.
Exactly. Well, while this was going on, Lauren, a couple pieces of pretty interesting entertainment news that found its way into our lives over the past week. First, from our friends at TikTok. TikTok recently announced that it's going to be increasing the maximum length that viewers can of videos that viewers can upload to the platform from 3 minutes, which is what it was at, to now 10 minutes.
Whoa.
And this comes at the heels of the platform's announcement back in July that they were increasing the maximum length from 60 seconds to 3 minutes.
That's what I thought. I mean, but like I thought that was the whole thing on TikTok, was like you get snippets, like
Short videos,
you can max
bite-sized.
out at a minute, right? But and they give you your counts, your status or whatever based on the length that people watch you. So it's like if they watch 10% of your video or 50% of your video or 100% of your video, you get credit for it. So if you make a 10-minute video, do people have to sit there and watch all 10 minutes of it before you get credit for them viewing your piece? Because that's a lot of pressure on somebody to put a 10-minute video together in a world of I'm watching things for 15 seconds.
Yeah. And TikTok has basically trained me to where, like, if you're throwing something at me that's 3 minutes long, it better be a damn masterpiece.
Yeah. I
Like,
feel
it's
terrible
gotta be
for
out
saying
of this
that,
world.
but like,
Well, somebody once described this to me, and I thought it was the best comparison for what TikTok is. And I think you, as a student of theater, will really enjoy this comparison, Lauren. TikTok is the modern day vaudeville.
okay.
A bunch of acts, like imagine like a vaudeville show, a bunch of acts in rapid succession, one after another, and you are in control of the hook. Right. You can pull somebody off stage whenever you want, and all the acts are going to be different, right? Like one person's a singer and the next one's a comedian and the next person's a dancer, like a traditional vaudeville show. And and so when you start throwing a 10-minute presentation in there out of nowhere, it really like, breaks up the vaudeville pace.
Yeah, I was going to say, who had a vaudeville performance that went on for 10 minutes?
Yeah, you get the hook.
I mean, that's how long was, Abbott and Costello's bits, or how long is, I mean, you can get into like the super long versions of Meatloaf's songs and you don't get up to 10 minutes. Like this is a long time.
That is well, and here's what TikTok is doing. Because if you're thinking to yourself, man, a 10-minute video, that sounds like YouTube. And the answer is yes. TikTok is trying to compete with YouTube. And it's sort of something that's funny that's happening in the internet video world right now, where TikTok's trying to be YouTube. They're trying to increase the length of their videos and trying to capture some of that YouTube market. YouTube's doing the opposite. YouTube's trying to be TikTok. They've created YouTube Shorts, and they're trying to get some of those people who like the smaller content. So really there's this grand convergence theory where everybody's going after each other's things. But here's the thing, is I've talked to folks at TikTok about this.
Ooh, okay.
Very much off the record, of course. But after talking to these folks, after researching this, you have to understand where TikTok is coming from. They have grand ambitions. TikTok is not content to be, we're the place where you watch silly videos or people dancing or Charlie D'Amelio, just one after another in little 2-minute bite-sized chunks.
These are valuable things.
Yeah, they want, right, but that's not, but they want more than that. They want to be the first thing that you think of in the video world. And they're doing that in two ways. They are horizontally integrating, which is a business term that means they're trying to be the only people in their industry, right? They're going after TikToks. They're going after YouTube's share. They're going after other internet video services share. Pretty soon you might see them start making a play at content companies like Netflix or TV networks. A TikTok TV might be coming. They want to be the number one video, service, like
where you tune in, whatever it is,
right?
Yeah.
And so to make that happen, to do that, they have to start getting people accustomed to the idea of seeing videos longer than 3 minutes with TikTok. And
Remember
so that's
when we
part
used
of it.
to do 10-minute plays? Like that was a thing. You had to write 10-minute play. Well, 10-minute plays were a thing. I mean, one act could go up
That's
to
true.
50 minutes, 60 minutes, but like there was a whole snippet. You'd have a night of 10-minute plays and everybody would do their 10-minute play. In some ways I'd be kind of interested to see what happens with that length. Are we going to get more storytelling as opposed to like, this is fun to look at, watch my cat? Like, are we going to get, are we going to get storylines? Are we going to start feeling things for people? Are you going to tell a half hour or an hour long story in 10-minute bits that kind of become episodic? I don't know.
It's starting to remind
you're tuning me around. I like it.
It's starting to remind me of Quibi. Do you remember Quibi?
No.
Exactly. Nobody does. So like 2 or 3 years ago, it must have been, somebody had the idea of like, we need to start a TV network, a streaming service with nothing but like 10-minute shows. Quibi was a portmanteau. It stood for Quick Bites. Okay. And the idea was that like people didn't want to watch 30-minute shows or 42-minute shows. That people had busy lives, and sometimes they just wanted to sit down and watch something that was over in 10 minutes. Okay. So they tried to create a whole streaming service with nothing but 10-minute programs. And they got all these amazing actors and producers and content creators to make a bunch of 10-minute episode shows for this platform. They put $1 billion into it.
Whoa.
And it failed. It was gone in like a year or two, and nobody even noticed it existed. And it was just like they just lit $1 billion on fire. And so I'm not sure if like 10 minutes is the greatest length. I think people either want long stuff where they can sit around for a long time and eat popcorn, or they want to watch a bunch of quick videos and then be done with it. And I'm not so sure about the middle space, but TikTok, this is like TikTok's not stopping here, right? They want to be the only video service in the game. And they're not just doing that by expanding horizontally, right? They're also looking at vertical expansion in the sense that they are taking over the whole assembly line. So vertical integration or vertical expansion is, imagine a business that sold cars, like a car dealership, right? They're the ones selling the car to the consumer. But imagine that car dealership also decided to become the company that made the cars, or the company that manufactured the parts. Like they were being on all parts of the supply chain in the way that Tesla does, right? Tesla doesn't sell their cars through dealers. They make their own cars. They sell the cars. TikTok wants to do that. TikTok doesn't just want to be the place where you watch your videos. They want to be the place that makes the content.
Okay,
they want to
but
be
see,
a
now I
record
have an
label. They
issue.
want to be a producer.
Yeah, because see, now I'm getting about it, because
What is-
TikTok is a home for indie creators. It's one of the places that has been created for you can create the content and put it out there. If their campaign is, we want to get to a point where we're selling stories, like, your platform is to allow other people to sell stories. And if you're trying to get to a place where people pay a subscription to watch the content you want them to watch, like, you're kind of losing what you built and your uniqueness in the industry. I mean, we don't need another, like you said, YouTube. We don't need another Netflix. We need something that is different. And TikTok has always been a space where people can create things and make that creation available. I'd be very wary of a company that then said, my goal is to take over, because that basically says they're going to try to take over the indie creators that are building their fan base.
Well, TikTok's perspective, and that is a legitimate fear, right? But I mean, think about YouTube's trajectory, right? YouTube just started off as, we're just a place where people can upload their videos. And then they started to vertically integrate. They started creating their own television shows. Cobra Kai was a YouTube production and became like a big hit. And so so it would not surprise me if TikTok or its parent company ByteDance started creating its own content and putting it out on the platform the same way. But I can understand your concern of like, oh, are they going to stamp out the same creators that they said they were championing?
Well, I don't want them competing with them either. Like, hey, we created content with our billions of dollars that's going to have the viewers that tune into TikTok no longer tuning into you indie creators. They're going to be tuning into our big budget productions. And I don't love it. Sorry, I didn't even know it was coming, but like, I don't know.
Well, and certainly as advocates for indie creators, that's something
you
we
said
wouldn't
they're going
want
to be the
happen
record
either.
labels, and I don't particularly want another record label either.
Well,
like
Now, I should mention, in TikTok's defense, like when I've heard them give these conversations about we're going to be the next record label, they are not looking at the current label model and are like, yeah, let's emulate that, right? They're not trying to be
right.
They're not trying to be Universal Music. They envision something more like, we're going to create the platform for people to distribute their music. Like, we're going to be a CD baby, right? And then people can upload their music, and maybe we'll provide extra marketing resources or things like that, but we'll still give the independent creator some measure of control. But it's going to be interesting to see
what
how
happened with their commercials. Like, all right, I'm going to watch a 2-minute TikTok video or a 10-minute TikTok video. And when that video breaks up, I'm going to watch advertisements for TikTok's content and not, but like that concerns me, because when the platform that allows indie creators to create is creating their own content, they're basically becoming competition for their creators. And I see what's going to happen is, and then we need a space for a TikTok to come up. So they're going to take on a new market, and we're going to need a new platform to come up and make a space available to people who aren't trying to market their own product. And that could happen. I don't know.
I definitely want to ask Bill about this when we bring them in after the break, because I think they're going to have a lot of insight about, because Bill is a tech entrepreneur, works with a lot of tech companies, and I'm sure that Bill will have a lot of insight on the idea of just companies needing to keep growing. If you're not growing, you're dying. It's like a shark that always has to swim.
Right.
And so I imagine that Bill could have some cool insight for us about what might be in TikTok's head.
I'm excited.
Considering that Bill is always around founders in their own right. Now, All right, before we bring Bill on and before we go to break, I want to talk about this yet another piece of entertainment law copyright news.
Okay.
You killed innocent people.
The means to an end.
You started a massacre.
I caused the revolution.
You betrayed the law.
And some interesting law this week. Florida-based reggae act Article Sound System has sued pop star Dua Lipa, alleging that her 2020 hit Levitating infringed on their song Live Your Life. Why can't we go a damn week around here without somebody suing somebody for copyright infringement? First it was Taylor Swift, now it was Dua Lipa.
Because it's successful and people are trying to do money grabs. And oh yeah, it's working.
Yeah. And again, I think my position on these kind of suits is already clear. I don't love that artists are a target now more for these kind of infringement suits. I think even on like calls where you're not quite sure, like, oh, maybe this is infringement, maybe this isn't, we want to kind of lean on the side of not saying it's infringement because we want to encourage creativity in music. And if we have a world where songwriters are constantly looking over their shoulder, afraid that, oh my God, did I write something that was had another song in the back of my head and now I'm going to get sued? Or God forbid, errors and omissions insurance policies just become so expensive because of all these lawsuits that nobody can afford to be in the business of creating anymore. That's the kind of stuff that scares me. And this seems like another example of it. Now, look, to be fair,
a compliment. Like,
yeah, imitation, sincerest for flattery.
Yeah.
Well, you can, if you go in the articles, you can listen to the two songs, and there are some similar melodic elements. Like they have kind of a similar chord progression and groove, but generally chord progressions and grooves aren't protectable under copyright. There is a section of the song where the melodies sound kind of similar, but I could probably find 10 other songs that have that melody. But what makes this case interesting is one of the things that you have to be able to prove when making a copyright suit is you have to be able to prove what's called access. So it's not just enough to say, oh, this song is similar to my song. You have to be able to prove that Dua Lipa heard your song at some point, right? Mm-hmm. And for many copyright suits, that's easy to prove because if the original song was a massive hit, like Paramore's Misery Business was with that Olivia Rodrigo case, it's easy to prove access. You say, oh, this song was everywhere. Of course, Olivia Rodrigo heard my song that came out back in 2007. In this case, the song by Article Sound System, Live Your Life, was not particularly widespread. I think the band has like 230 followers on SoundCloud. This isn't a particularly massive, prestigious group. So the probability of being able to prove that Dua Lipa somehow heard this song and be able to prove it, with a, preponderance of evidence is not particularly strong. But again, this isn't a situation where you necessarily.
She was one of those 230 people.
That's right. Yeah, that boy, wouldn't that be a damaging fact? Looking up the SoundCloud followers. Oh shoot, there's Dua Lipa. Oh yeah, at that point, that's the end of that lawsuit. You lost. But the other side of it though is like, you don't even necessarily have to prove it because all you have to be able to prove is that it's enough of a case that you can scare the other side into settling and you get a little payday. Maybe you get listed as a co-writer because you don't want to end up the next Robin Thicke Blurred Lines and lose millions of dollars in one of these copyright infringement suits. So it's
advertisement. I mean,
yeah.
Like, yes, you want a quick money grab. And at the same time, people who didn't know who that person was, their sales are going to go from 230 to 500. I mean, it doesn't have to be a huge jump to be successful for them.
I'm guessing the band's getting a lot more streams on their SoundCloud right now because every major media publication is putting the embedded SoundCloud song in there. Oh, listen for yourself. Yep. And then you make a lot of money. Here's what could have happened. Okay. So, and this is, an important thing for artists to understand. Like, it's entirely possible that, if this song was, if pieces of this 2017 song found its way into Levitating, Dua Lipa might have had nothing to do with it, right?
Right.
But Dua Lipa, like many artists, works with other creators, other producers, other songwriters. Maybe a beat found its way from one song to another song, and then it, through a collaborator, found its way into Levitating. That can happen all the time because of how collaborative the industry is. And the problem is, copyright infringement is a strict liability offense. You can't say, "Oh, I didn't intend to do it." Right,
yeah.
right. And, maybe you can bring them in as a co-defendant, right? And say, oh, no, this is actually your fault. But by then you've already been sued. And so the lesson for indie artists in something like this is make sure you have clean title with everyone you're working with. All right. The people that you're working with, they need to sign something saying that the work that they're providing is completely 100% original. They should indemnify you. Ideally, they should have their own insurance policy to defend against these lawsuits. But even if they don't, I then get to go back to my piece of advice every time we have one of these lawsuits. Get your own errors and omissions insurance policy. All right. It's becoming more and more important because these lawsuits are becoming more and more frequent. We're literally doing one of these a week at this point. Go find a policy that's going to cover this. They'll cover your legal defense. And especially if you're signed to a record label, definitely get this policy, because every record deal has what's called an indemnification clause. Okay. That says, where you're saying to the record label, I affirm, record label, that all the material and all of my songs that I'm giving you are completely okay to use. And you're not going to get, and I promise that you will not get sued for copyright infringement, record label. And then the next paragraph says, and if you do, in fact, I'm so sure you're not going to get sued, record label, that if you do get sued, I'll pay all your damages and I'll pay all your legal fees in the lawsuit. And that's called an indemnification. That's a very risky thing to put on the line. And so if you're a early career artist that, doesn't have any money and the label gets sued for copyright infringement, can you possibly afford to cover that indemnification? Obviously not. So you get an E&O insurance policy so that in the event that this happens, you have an insurance company that's going to cover those legal fees for you and for the label that you've indemnified.
Can I be like a super bad guy right now? Because
sure.
I'm hearing the lesson that you're saying indie creators should learn from this, and you're absolutely giving great advice. But what I'm hearing is, if you're an indie creator out there and you can find a common thread between you and anything that's successful, it's a great advertising mechanism. It's a great PR campaign, and it's a great money grab for what you're doing. Create as much content as you possibly can, and then you have a huge portfolio to pull from when you find something that matches what you do. And I don't want to advocate for that, but in theory, if that's not something we want to see happen, they need to do something to protect artists that exists without the artists themselves having to go through all this money and protection. Because if they don't, you're going to get more and more and more indie creators going after everybody because it's working.
Yeah. Floodgates are opening. Well, two things with what you're saying here. First of all, what you are advocating sounds like a really good way to make sure that nobody in the music industry ever works with you. Because if you become that particular litigant.
But out there, we're saying protect yourself. And there are plenty of people hearing protect yourself. And there are plenty of people hearing, haha, look how many people aren't protecting themselves. And what can I do? And you're in a world where it's scrappy and it's really hard to achieve success. And you've got somebody who went from 230 views to having the link to their song posted everywhere.
It's a crappy way to get publicity. I even know some artists who have musicologists on retainer who will, when you send them songs, the musicologist will check it against like previous recordings and things like that. How about that? A brand new revenue stream for all the musicologists out there. All those musicologists whose parents said, "What are you going to do with that degree?" Be like, "I just got a job with Dua Lipa." How about that?
Okay, so to go against myself here, because I do this all the time.
Why do I even need to be here? You can just argue with yourself.
Debate myself. I will state that even though it seems like a good idea and it may be successful in the short term, just like Ryan said, this is not a long-term gain. You can earn just as many enemies as you can in short-term success. So, what seems like an easy grab and an easy PR stunt may destroy your career in the long run. So even though it might sound easy, don't do it.
Thank you.
Just don't.
Good way to end this segment. Way to bring it back around. Let's take a quick break, and we're going to bring Bill Downupright Boulden right here on Break the Business. Don't go anywhere. Ryan Kairalla here. I hope you're enjoying the show, and I hope that you're getting a lot out of it. I do what I do because I care about creators like you. A lot. I've dedicated my career to helping creative professionals, entrepreneurs, and organizations move forward. I do it by hosting this program, and I'm also proud to do it in my legal practice. If you're a creative professional looking for solutions-oriented legal services to help you further your goals, I'd love to help. My firm RKPA does contracts, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Visit rkpalaw.com to learn more. That's rkpalaw.com. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. We're on Facebook Live, we're on Twitter Live, we're on Twitch, we are on YouTube Live, we're on all major podcast platforms, and always happy to be on Sirius XM, Channel 145, Go Slam Radio. And go to our next guest, one of my favorite indie creators. I'm just enamored with this person. Our guest is a Buffalo-based EDM producer, DJ, and tech entrepreneur known artistically as Downupright. Their latest EP, Click Here to Prove You Are Not a Robot, launched on February 2nd and is available now on all major streaming platforms. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting soundcloud.com/Downupright. We are happy to welcome Bill Boulden on to Break the Business. Hi, Bill.
Hello. How's it going?
It is so good. It is a marvel to see you. I hope you were not just distracted by the ridiculous clothes I'm wearing.
Hey, I'm wearing my this was my punk battle jacket for a while, but somebody pointed out that it's kind of like the 100 Pieces of Flair vest from Office Space.
I'm trying to like
kind of
track
that,
them
too.
all. I'm like, all right, how many references in here?
Oh, there's a
I
ton.
love
There's a
them.
bunch on the back and stuff too, but I'm not turning around on camera.
Oh, bummer. That was going to be my next
I
question.
know.
It's a very cool jacket, Bill. Before we get into just talking about all the great stuff that you're doing, because I really want to give the viewers and listeners a chance just to hear about kind of your approach to creating art, because it's one of my favorite approaches of all the indie creators I've talked to. I'd love to get you in on a conversation we were having in the previous segment, because you work with a lot of founders. You work with a lot of tech entrepreneurs. And so I'm wondering if you could give us some of insight on just what you think ByteDance and TikTok are doing by expanding the length of their videos to 10 minutes. It looks like they're trying to go after YouTube's market share, maybe get into like the label business. Is it just this idea that like tech companies, especially when they reach scale, just need to keep expanding? They're a shark that has to keep swimming?
It really is that. Shareholders demand continuous expansion, and you can never come back and say, we did it. We made the best TikTok we possibly could. It is perfect at being TikTok. They would say, what's next? How are you going to 10x this? And so it becomes a question of TAM, or total addressable market, which is the total market size you could reach if everyone was to use your product. And they have already dominated the TAM for attention space in short form video. There is nowhere left to grow. So they can no longer grow by refining their product. They have to grow by refining their market. And the next step is making a bigger market. Especially one of the things that I've noticed is a change in TikTok. And full disclosure, despite being an indie creator, I am not on TikTok. I'm pretty sure I have undiagnosed ADHD, so I just don't like where this road leads. I hear that TikTok is very bad for one's attention span. I'm not interested in finding out firsthand.
It's probably a
But-
better way to live your life. I'm already caught into it, but save yourself.
That's why
Yeah.
I've avoided it. Like my ADHD, I'm like, I can't. Once I start, I'll be stuck.
Yeah, like this story only ends one way for me. But one thing I've noticed, because I see TikToks bleed into Twitter and Facebook, the social media networks I do use, people post TikToks they're seeing all the time. And I remember it used to be like, watch this dog slam dunk a basketball, watch this person doing a cool lip sync. And now I'm seeing a lot more political and long form activity since they moved to 3 months or three minute
3 months is the next
segments.
announcement.
Yeah, 3 months is the next announcement. But I think they're starting to get a lot of real dialogue, and it's not just watch this dog dunk a basketball anymore. So 10 minutes seems like the next logical step, especially if they want to start hosting more like YouTube's long form. I mean, you can go on YouTube to find somebody talking about any topic you like for an hour and a half. They'll go hard on it.
Yeah.
And so I think that what they're doing is not growing their product any longer. They're growing the size of their market.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And by the way, like the moment you said Tam, you just seem just like a wash of impressed go over Lauren's face.
Fancy wording. Yeah.
Once the Tam showed up, she's like, oh, this is okay. Clearly our guest knows what the hell they're talking about. All right.
I advise a lot
rarely
of
see
startups.
Lauren impressed on this program. but
Throw
you
in
had her
big words
impressed.
and acronyms, and I'm like, wow, shiny.
Well, Lauren, you've never met Bill, right?
No.
Okay, so I want to give you lots of reasons to be impressed by Bill. Bill, as I said in the
Other
intro,
than the jacket. Or
Other than the
vest,
jacket.
excuse me.
all right, Bill's one of my favorite indie creators, Lauren. Bill does these really big, ambitious music projects. Bill once did a project where they set up this really grand thing where every single person who contributed to the Kickstarter got their own unique copy of a music project and made like thousands of different copies. They've done narratives before, like bringing in voice actors and things like this, telling a story with music. It's always these cool, ambitious projects, and it's never the same
Sounds
project
like a
twice.
lot of work for them too. Jeez, like
Well-
it's no easy task. We're gonna sit here and make 1,000 different copies.
I'm curious about all this, Bill. What drives you in the creation of your art? How do you pick the projects that you do? And why don't you just make a damn 3-minute pop song?
Well, click here to prove you are not a robot is just some 3-minute pop songs.
That's true. This one is. I enjoyed it. It was good stuff.
Oh, excellent. Glad
Yeah.
to hear it. But really, I'm just out here trying to have fun. And the truth is that I'm a programmer and an engineer at heart. And so the idea of making a programmatically generated album, well, it has been done before in academia, but doing it with that Music to Die Alone in Space 2 concept, where it has such a strong narrative and you get to choose your voice actor, choose your language, and then the album is regenerated for you with your choice of voice actor and language into your own unique copy. It was a really fun engineering challenge, coding the algorithms that could generate one copy of each track. And like I'm just in this. It's cool when I make money and it's cool when I get an audience, but I'm here to have fun, and it was a blast.
It sounds like you're
Okay.
driven more by the process than the product, almost. Like,
Yeah, the way that I do my releases now is for a while there, after I went to production school and leveled up my production skills, I was just putting out lots of singles to try and refine my new producing process. But now that I'm into doing long form releases again, I choose a sound and try to sculpt like a vision and then work backwards from that. So like Click Here to Prove You Are Not a Robot was never supposed to be like 3 new different tracks. It is one sound, the hyper distorted, ultra hard, heavily processed hyper pop sound executed across 3 tracks and then remixed 8
And then
times.
done in different ways, yeah. With the cool remixes and stuff.
So that you're going to be seeing that from me a lot more now, where there's going to be these releases where I'm like, what if there was an album that sounded like 8-bit goth or something? And I'll just pick a thing, engineer backwards from it, and be like, here, this is that album. It's fun. The process is what I love. So I'll tell you what I'm working on.
And you're challenging yourself. Like you give yourself a task and a mission. You create it, but like you're challenging yourself, which is really cool.
My current jam is I am tired of waiting for the opportunity to score a film or a video game to arrive in my lap organically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm deciding to manifest it by I'm currently several tracks into making a video game soundtrack to nothing. Just a full orchestral score, main theme, different characters' themes, battle music, the whole spiel, and it just doesn't go to any video game. But I can just point to it and say, like, if you wanted to make a video game, here it is. It's waiting for it, and
That's
see
awesome.
what happens.
And then your next challenge is to make the video game. Like
Which also plays into my skill set.
Well, that's
There
what I was
you
going to say. If you do coding and stuff, if you get excited enough about your music, who better to do it than you?
That would be a whole new skill set to take on. I'm trying to think if there's a way to turn this into a Kickstarter or something, but I think it's best done as just a orchestral symphonic album.
I'm glad that Lauren brought up the coding work that you do, because I haven't come across too many musician producers who also do a lot of the programming and coding and work with startups. I know they're out there, but we don't come across too many of them. But we are certainly no stranger to indie creators who have some other big important thing that they're passionate about. So I want to ask you, how do you balance those two sides of your life? Do you try to sort of separate them just temporally and conceptually each day, or do you let them blend together?
I really let them blend together. So some visual aids here for people who are listening to this in the podcast form and not in the video form. But behind me is my workstation, and I am sitting at my music computer. So I spend all day working there. And whenever I have 20 minutes between meetings, I turn the chair around,
spin it around,
come back to this computer, and work on like 20 minutes of music. Just maybe develop one new melody or one new track. It's what I do to fill in the time. That and play Magic the Gathering Arena.
Does
that
relax
kind of
you? Does it like reset your brain so you're like
it's
I
a
hit
really
that
good
button?
palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Because
So, side note, I just want to join in our fans saying, "We love you, Bill."
that's
Bill brought
my
a cheering
wonderful
section.
girlfriend.
We like her too.
It's almost sort of like a twist on the Pomodoro technique, you know? Bill plugs away on some coding project for a while, but then like spins around and does the creative thing to kind of reset everything and to remotivate them, and then go right back into work again. I dig this.
Yeah, it's like a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
5 minutes of tinkering with a beat, and then I leave before I get tired ears.
I'd like to
Yeah.
bend your ear on more startup and tech stuff, because I don't know enough about this stuff and I need to talk to somebody who does. We've been talking a lot about NFTs the last few weeks, and NFTs in music, and we've had people explain to us what NFTs are. We've talked a lot about some of these NFT scam sites that have proliferated, where basically you just have websites that are taking artists' intellectual property, whether it's their music, their trademarks, their likenesses, and using them to say you can get NFTs of this material, and they don't get the artist's permission. So like I hear two camps where it's like NFTs are the future of the music industry. They're going to save indie creators, and then NFTs are a menace. They're a wolf in sheep's clothing. Where do you feel about NFTs in the music business? Where do you stand on its potential?
This is a great this is a great topic because I am torn between two worlds. The startup and engineer half of me, essentially, let me position it as two social networks. I'm on LinkedIn and I'm on Twitter. And when I'm on LinkedIn, everything is NFTs, and NFTs are the wave of the future. And somebody's like, my startup is doing NFTs of your mortgage is now an NFT, and we just raised $5.5 million and we haven't even built the product yet. And on Twitter, somebody says big announcement coming tomorrow, and people are writing in, oh dear God, don't let it be NFTs. Please don't do an NFT. Please don't do an NFT. It's just such a different vibe on the two sites. So I sat this one out because I like to have all the information before I make a decision. And I started as being interested in NFTs because I thought they could get indie creators paid.
Right.
And that's really all I care about is indie creators getting paid. So by that metric, really what I should care about is if in the end indie creators have been getting paid. And what I've come to see is that indie creators are not getting paid. They are in practice getting ripped off and pirated more than they are being benefited. So the number of indie artists that I'm friends with who have made a big payday on an NFT is 0. The number of indie artists I've had that have had their music stolen to make NFTs is somewhere in the 10 to 15 range.
Right.
So I have more to say on this, but short version, I'm in this for the practical impact it's having on the environment. Once indie creators truly start making bank on NFTs, I'll be there to cheer them on, but it isn't happening yet. You know, even the woman who drew all the apes is not getting paid for her work.
The only artist I can think of when you were talking about what artist is, succeeding in this environment, the only one I can think of is the person who made the theme song for this podcast.
Yeah.
Jonathan Mann. I don't know. Are you familiar with Jonathan's NFT project that he's doing with all of his songs?
No.
So it's pretty interesting. So Jonathan Mann is the Guinness World Record holder for most consecutive days writing a song. He's written a new song every day for like the last 4,400 days or something like that, and decided to take all of his songs and transfer the copyrights to a decentralized autonomous organization, and then sell the NFTs of each of those songs to fans who can then be part of this decentralized autonomous organization and potentially have an interest in the copyrights of all the works that are being created. And I mean, he's selling each of these songs for, what was it like?
They all sold. I think it started at it was all Ethereum, but it converted to like $800 a piece for a song when it first launched, and he sold out in less than a day.
Yeah, and you multiply that by 4,000, that's
That's
real
a
money
lot of
there.
money.
But if you were asking me like who are the artists that are benefiting, like that's the first one that comes off the top of my head that isn't just, a big time chart topping artist who was already successful.
So if I can go next level on this,
And we want you to.
Please.
yeah, sure. I have talked to a lot of NFT enthusiasts, and what I'm coming down on right now is that I think the people who really want NFTs to happen are how do I put this?
VC class.
Yeah, capital.
Yeah.
It's capital that wants NFTs to happen because it gives them another source of income. I have not really, truly, except for some idealistic wave riders, I have not met the large class of fans that is interested in NFTs as they are currently presented.
Right.
There is a future for some applications of NFTs, like your mortgage being on the blockchain or something. It has a lot of applications as a distributed database. It really does. It can do cool things. But the current status of an NFT as being, according to this plaque on this chain, that's my ape. to point at a thing and just be like, that's my Jonathan Mann song. I have not encountered that as a market force that is generating demand. Maybe in small amounts, there are 10,000 people who are interested in this, but the market is not asking for it. Capital is asking for it to be imposed on the market.
Folks,
That is
Bill,
what I'm seeing so far.
Bill has brilliant insight, and that brilliance so frequently finds a way into their music. I encourage you to check out soundcloud.com/downupright. Check out the latest EP. Click here to prove you are not a robot. It is awesome. It's super creative, like everything that Bill does. I encourage you all to check it out. Before we let you go, Bill, and every time you stop by is a treat, and this one's no exception, I do want to get our last question out of you.
I have one question before we get to the last question. Just because it's driving me bananas, but what scent is the candle that's behind you? This is a personal thing.
Let's see. This is...
You're going to interrupt the final question for a scented candle question?
Well, I didn't want to ask the question after the final question.
Are you kidding?
Wait, ugly sweater?
Snuggly sweater.
Oh, snuggly sweater. Okay, that makes me happy.
Snuggly
Okay,
sweater.
Now you may ask the
Lauren!
final question.
This is the final question. It's sort of an important staple of this program. You threw out the rhythm for scented candle talk, which, by the way, is only a play for the people watching the live stream.
No, we
the
all
radio
know what
audience
to
can't
feel.
see the scented candle.
Audio-wise, we all know. It's like it's one of our senses. We might just be hearing,
Theater
but
of the
now we're
mind.
all feeling our comfy sweater.
New startup idea. Why can you not smell a podcast?
Right?
Here, and that's why this is even more frustrating, is even the people who can visually see the scented candle still don't get the full scented candle experience because they can't smell it.
They were
So
thinking it.
this is for nobody.
It's for me.
It is a nice looking candle, though. Bill, do you have any last tips to share with the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Yeah, be creative. Think about your process. It's fun to come up with a new process and then execute on it. You learn a lot that way, and it's easier than having to start from a blank slate every time you open up Ableton and stare at that empty screen saying, what will I make today? The categories are limitless, but restrictions breed creativity. And so when you hone in on something, you have a chance to refine your execution, which is a valuable skill. And lately, I've just been having a blast with that.
I always get a lot smarter every time I get the chance to talk to you, Bill. Please don't be a stranger. We want to have you on again as many times as you are willing to put up with our silliness. This has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I can't believe you've never met Bill before, Lauren.
Well, you never introduced me, so I
Well,
blame you.
I'm sorry, but I'm glad that I got to introduce you and some of the new podcast listeners to Bill. And, you know, a lot of people know, the people who've been with Break the Business since the beginning, they know Bill, but now we have new people and they get to know him. So that's always great. Speaking of Break the Business guests, I'll close with this little nugget.
Okay.
So I had a Break the Business guest sighting while I was watching Netflix just before the show.
Ooh, do tell.
Our friend Chris Gethard is on Space Force on the new Steve Carell show. And it was the weirdest thing because he was on screen and he had some dialogue and I didn't recognize him right away. It was one of those things where it's like,
Who is, I
know you from somewhere. Like, but not just like from another show. Like, I know you, like I've had a conversation with you. And I'm thinking like, is this somebody like I met at a conference or something? And then like I was like, oh shoot, that's Chris Gethard. I have had a conversation with that person. That's
awesome. Go him. Yay.
Yeah, look at that.
Round of applause because I'm proud of him.
Chris Gethard. It must have been the Break the Business bump.
Why
Much
not?
how Congressman Deutsch parlayed his Break the Business appearance into a sweet gig heading up the American Jewish Committee, Chris Gethard parlayed his Break the Business experience getting on Space Force, even though he probably shot Space Force like 6 months before he came on our show, but we don't need to worry
And
about
why
that.
didn't he tell about it? Anyway, that's fine.
right. I would
Keep
have
an eye on
that.
Netflix. You're going to see me. No, nothing.
That's right.
Nothing.
my thanks to you, Lauren, for getting us through this show this week. It's been a pleasure chatting
And
with
thank
you.
you for wearing the outfit the whole show.
Yes.
Yay.
Our thanks to Bill Boulden for joining us. What a treat. And my thanks to all of you for joining us here on Break the Business. Be sure to check out Star Trek Picard Season 2 premiering. It's going to be a blast. Mwah! Thank you all. See you all next week on Break the Business.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.